Make noise. We're making noise. It's Friday. Hey, we got to get some noisemakers. Welcome in, everybody. It's Friday. Thank you, Alexandra. How you doing?
Just fine, Farzad. So pleased to roll out the week with you. This is the best thing.
The best. I should have brought my bottle of wine for this, but what I'm going to do is right after this, I'm going to go drink myself a nice bottle of wine to celebrate that you and I are sitting down again on our second episode. So make sure you can hear us okay. Make sure you can see us okay. Oh, man. What do you want to talk about? There's so much to talk about.
Wait. First, let's talk. You just spoke to Elon. So talking to me now is sort of downgrade.
For like a minute.
It's a downgrade.
I disagree, by the way. I think it's an upgrade, okay? It's an upgrade.
You just want to get your investment grade. That's what you're trying to do now.
Of course. This is how people play. I mean, this is how people play. I'm learning, how people play S&P and Moody's, I'm learning to play the game. It was cool. Yeah, for those that don't know, I was on a space on Twitter like an hour ago, I guess now. Mm-hmm. And they were hosting a space around the algorithm being open source on Twitter. And I went on spaces and I requested to speak because I had a question about community notes and how that stuff scales out for deep fake AIs and stuff. And lo and behold, they asked me up. And when they asked me up, I'm literally pooping my pants out of nervousness because then I'm like, why am I so nervous? And so I took 10 seconds to calm myself down. And then a minute later, they called me up. And then I asked my question. And Elon answered it, and then they kicked me off the stage, and I couldn't ask a follow-up. But maybe next time. Yeah, it was great.
You did very well. I listened to it, and I was so proud, and I screenshot it, and I was like, "That's my Farzad talking to Elon." I was all over the place.
It was
well done.
It was a cool experience. It was a cool experience. Thank you. Yeah, it was just neat. I think what's it was kind of like weird, like asking a question and then hearing Elon back answering the question. And because you usually, when you listen to people speak, you never, I never imagine myself as like the person that's asking the question. I'm always waiting to hear back what he's going to say. And I'm listening to the person asking the question. But being in the role of asking the question was very trippy because then he was pointing his answer to what I was saying. I was like, whoa, this is weird. This is weird as hell.
Answering to you. And did you ever meet him physically when you still worked at Tesla or never? Did you see him
Never physically. We did correspond through email like 3 or 4 times. And yeah, every time I sent him an email, and I sent them an email like once a year because, I was in a completely different, he's focused on manufacturing. I was on distribution and service. So, the emails I sent him, I was like, hey, this is what I'm seeing big picture. And he's very open about, hey, if you have an idea, send it over to me. And I would send it and he would reply. I'm like, okay, cool. And so, and it's like no different than like the replies I get on Twitter. It seems like once in a while, Elon likes to reply to some of the tweets I put out. Yeah. Which also is also cool.
Don't underdo it. He likes a lot of your tweets, and he answers to a lot of your tweets. He does.
I mean, it's like I like Tesla. He likes Tesla, so there seems to be overlap on those things. So yeah, but yeah, it's just cool, and it's so interesting to live in an age where there's not as many barriers between like people. Like we think about people that are in this place, like Elon Musk is like, oh, top tier of society, blah, blah, blah. And it's cool that we have technology that kind of bridges the gap between that kind of person. And I really think Elon doesn't really fit that, but he just happens to be there. And then you have like the rest of us, right? Who are like viewing these people maybe in some ways, some of us do, is like, wow, look at how much they've achieved. They're so exceptional and whatever. And I wish there was more of that type of technology where we could bridge that gap more. And so we wouldn't have this almost class divide of which we almost self-impose as a species of like the haves, like the ultimate achievers and like everybody else.
The commoners,
what I love about Twitter is that it seems to be closing that gap, at least with Spaces is a good way of doing that. Yeah.
And it's not only Twitter and it's not only technology, it's really Elon as well, because he just fights it all the time, right? Yeah. He taking off the old style blue check marks, telling them, yeah, you pay or you lose it. Talking like he would talk to you or to anybody else when he talks to politicians and replying to emails to press at Twitter with a poop emoji. All these things.
Amazing.
It is. So can you imagine you're a journalist, you have to write that email and you know already the auto response that's going to come?
Yeah, I know. And I bet you they did that just for the clicks, you know, but like, let's see if it works. And then if they get the poop emoji back, they're like, that's like 1 million views right there. Let's get the money.
Exactly. So I mean, I love many things about Elon, but that's probably the biggest one. The one that, you know, bringing people together on the same social level. My mother always told me when I was younger, she said, don't be afraid of anybody. They all poop the same way. And she's right. Exactly. And so that
sometimes they do it worse.
I'm not I don't want to know. but it really helps you in stress moments when you feel like, oh my God, this person is so much more imposing, or this person is so much, you know, brighter than you, or know so much more of a certain subject. They're all the same. We're just humans here. And he does so much of making sure everybody knows that we're all the same. There is no point in, you know, obviously there are stupid people around. That's another category of things. But, you know, people that have a passion and people that live their life to the fullest, we're all the same.
Yeah, it's a powerful message. It's a powerful message, especially in an age of some of the tribalism, like a lot of the tribalism that we're having now. I think ensuring that everybody knows, like, yo, we're all team human. And it doesn't like, at least let's remove the class divide as much as we can. We'll still have sort of like the vertical axis is trying to be knocked down. So we're all like together, but we still got this horizontal line that's crazy tribalistic with like politics and, you know, social issues and stuff. That's a whole separate thing. But we've been like divided this way for a long time. And we've been divided this way for a long time. So now we have technologies that's going to help bring that vertical axis, you know, sort of down to zero, you know. So
that's a very good way of describing it. It is. Yeah. That's a very good way of describing it.
Yeah,
yeah. So anyway, congratulations.
Before we move on, can we all say just how beautiful Alexandra looks? My goodness. Wow. Tell me if you agree in the chat. And I know everybody agrees. My goodness. Yeah. Yeah.
What choice
Sorry,
do they
I don't want to
have
interrupt.
Now? What choice do they have?
Relish in it.
Well, thank you very much, Farzad. That's very kind. So, since you did me so nice, I come back with something a bit mean. Oh, I hear your dogs. I heard them. Stop.
They're out there. They're chilling. They're excited for this question.
They are. So a question I got, and people sent that to me and asked, why is it? So they see that you're producing videos, right? I try to explain them. Well, it's sometimes it's one video, and then there are clippings of the video, there are shorts of the video, there are certain subjects that you extract of them. And I do think you have help now making these cover photos, making these titles and all that. So some people, I don't think it's a lot, but some people have the feeling it's a little bit more aggressive. It's a little bit more, you know, pushy. Is that true? Is that the intention? What makes you think? How actually? My question is, what's your business model with all this YouTube and all that? How do you work?
No, I appreciate the question. Yeah, thank you very much for that question. Yeah, it's been something that I've been experimenting with since about 3 to 4 months ago. I think the one thing that I decided to do is that I really wanted to see just what does it mean to have a successful YouTube channel, right? And when I first started my YouTube, it was a passion thing. It was something that I wanted to do because I wanted to get information out there, you know, as much as possible. And I wasn't really worried about, okay, best title, best thumbnail, best thing, best that, or whatever. But then I think the more I started doing it, I really enjoy the process. I love building things. That's what it really comes down to. I love building things. I'm an entrepreneur. Before this, my wife and I opened an escape room business together. And we did it from scratch. We made our own puzzles. We made our own rooms. You know, we did all the construction. We set up everything. We had no help. It was just my wife and I. We just made everything from scratch. So it's like part of my DNA. And I think that's why I enjoyed my time at Tesla so much. So now I think what happened is after I left Tesla and, you know, I've had this financial freedom and I've been able to sort of discover myself a little bit more. What I've started to sort of trend back to is like that builder mentality. Like, and I think that's one of the things that I've discovered is like, I just love to build things. I really do. And I'm just fascinated by this media landscape right now. And one of the things that I'm really trying to do from a YouTube perspective of growth is, okay, so what does it mean to grow a channel so that it's the most useful thing possible, right? And the best way to do that is to ensure you have titles and thumbnails that people want to click on without being misleading. And that's a very, very hard thing to do. And that is like the hardest thing in the world. And that's the one thing we've discovered in YouTube. I hired somebody for the YouTube channel. His name's David, about a month and a half ago, I think it was almost like 2 months. So whenever the clip started on the channel is when I brought on David. And the reason I brought him on was the feedback I was getting was like, hey, you have all these great interviews. You have these 1.5 hour, 2 hour long conversations, sometimes 3 hour long conversations. I ain't got time to sit down and go through all that stuff. So I would love it if you have more short form information. And I'm like, okay. And I started doing it myself. And then what I realized is like, I hate doing this. It's just I just don't enjoy it.
Video editing and
finding what you said. You got to find it, then you got to clip it out, then you have to stylize it so people like it. Then you got to build a title and the thumbnail so people actually want to click on it. Yeah. Otherwise, all the effort you put into that. Yeah, exactly.
Not a good
so
use
it's
of
like
your time.
It was brutal. It really was. And so David actually reached out to me. He just gave me a clip he was like, listen, I love your channel. Here's a clip that I made. I just want you to post it. I would love I would love it if you just kind of put it out there free of charge. I just really enjoy your channel because I know that's some of the feedback you've been getting. And he did an amazing job. I'm like, dude, this is great. How about you just do them all? And he's like, okay. So then we just did that. and that's grown, And so the feedback I've been getting is that as we experiment with the titles and the thumbnails, the one thing that we're discovering is that it's extremely hard to ride that line of maximizing how many people would view the content and it not being misleading, right? And it's that the ones that are the most effective to be clicked on is right next to misleading. And so what we try to do is we try to go somewhere below that, right? But then my thing to David has been just experiment, see what happens, right? Yeah. So let's do the titles, let's do the thumbnails, never be disingenuous, try your hardest, never be misleading, but experiment. And sometimes, there'll be content that comes out that's like, whoa, that's weird. It's like, I think yesterday we put a video out that said, I told my dad to sell Tesla stock, right? And I had somebody on
and I think that's the one that triggered me. I know. Yeah. I think that's what triggered all these DMs to me. What's Farzad up to? What's this?
Yeah. Experimentation is like, I told David, and I'm sorry for throwing you under the bus, David, but hey.
It was you, David. It was you.
It was you. Yeah. But listen, but I love that he did that because it's experimentation. I think the one thing I found on YouTube is that people are they get very upset. A small percentage of the very, very hardcore folks that love watching content is they get very upset if they're misled because they're really trying to use their seconds of viewing as efficiently as humanly possible. And when they click on something and they feel misled, they're like, screw you, I'm not going to deal with you anymore. Right. But at the same token.
So agree. We just want to jump in. Truth in this media world and in this, political environment and whatever, truth is what people so appreciate. And that's what they appreciate with you. And I think that's what they appreciate with me because they know we don't have, we can be wrong. We can admit we're wrong. But we're not going to tell something, packaged or a lie just to get to a certain goal. I think everybody feels that straight away. And that's why people trust you so much. And I think that's why people trust me so much. Keep on going. So what else did David do wrong? So he has a really good weekend.
No, I appreciate you. No, and listen, and I'm guilty of it too. Like it's not all the videos he does. Like I will, I think once a month I get yelled at for clickbait. It's rare. For my content, I'm very happy to say that I feel like that feedback I get's very rare, and I poke around all the time, and I do it behind the scenes, and people don't see it. It's part of my building process. It's like I'm continually experimenting to see, okay, what's the right thing, and where to get at. And I think it's just very challenging. I think folks really generally underestimate just how difficult it is to craft a title and thumbnail that people will click on. It is brutally hard. It is, especially if you really want, if it's part of like the thing you're trying to build. Like I've made a commitment to say for at least the next 2 years, I'm going to see what I can do with this thing, right? And it's not just growth for the sake of growth. It's like, how much value can I bring to this thing? But I don't want to waste my time. I'm sorry. Like I do not want to waste my time, at the same time.
I understand it. And is there a competition or not, with, do you feel like Stephen Mark Ryan or Herbert or others, are they competition to you? Do you feel?
No, not at all.
Exactly, because I always felt we're such a close-knit community that, it's not as if you were fighting for attention compared to the other ones. It's just you want to bring the information over, right? That's the intent. Okay.
Correct. All I want to do is I want to maximize my ability to bring information forward. And then the internet will decide if it's valuable content or not. I'm not out there to try and be like, it doesn't even cross my mind. I mean, Herbert and I, DM once in a while. He came and did the Tesla Stampede. Stephen and Mark Ryan and I, chat on DMs once in a while, and he's been on my channel a couple times. It's never done ever with the intent of like saying I'm going to try to beat out this guy. It's like I'm just trying to maximize my ability as a YouTuber, and it's something that I truly love doing. But I'm also the kind of person that if I'm going to be committing to something, I'm going to try my absolute hardest to be the best at it I can.
Sure.
And so, and if that means sometimes, if sometimes I make a mistake, I'll just fix it. It's just that it's what Tesla taught me. I mean, how many times do we see people from Tesla? How many bad decisions have they made? 1,000 of them, more, thousands of them, right? But they're quick to adjust.
Yeah.
And so that's I hope people see that. And if people have feedback, I'm always open to feedback, man. Like I make it a big point. Like if you think I'm doing something wrong, tell me. Leave it a comment. I read comments. Yeah.
And we obviously all hope Twitter is soon gonna help creators being monetized. But does YouTube help you in your budgets? Because now you have an employee, you obviously have a lot of cost invested in your studio and all that. But is it getting profitable, or is it still? It is. It's a legitimate 6-figure job for sure. Wow.
Yeah, wow. It's actually it does really well. It does really well, and that's one of the comments I made on my YouTube not too long ago was like, if people are legitimately thinking about doing YouTube as a career move, there is a legitimate source of income in it. But the one thing that I'm trying my hardest to prioritize, and again, that's why when I hear clickbait, part of me is like, oh God, like what am I doing wrong? Because I truly try to navigate that as much as I humanly can without giving away the experimentation side of it. I'm like, oh, I hope, part of me says, oh, I hope people don't think that I'm just doing this just to extract every nickel and dime from everybody.
No.
What I'm trying to do is like value out as much as possible. And then if the viewer votes with their attention, then I get rewarded in that sense. And then that's my mechanism to keep somebody like David employed. It's like, David, like if we do a really good job, more people will come. And the ethos that we have is value first and foremost. And I don't know if that's through volume, like getting as many pieces of content that people can watch in as high quality as possible. Or the one thing we're going to experiment with, I'm going to give up some secrets that we're working on, is for the next couple of months, we're actually going to go completely the opposite way. And we're going to try to do like as little content as humanly possible. And then we're going to compare the two and see how they do. And that's the kind of experimentation we do.
How can you do as little content as possible?
So the thought process is to invest really heavily in like production pieces that are going to come out once a week, that are more in the style of like, I don't know if you are familiar with Johnny Harris, Veritasium. It's like these kind of like mini documentaries almost. They're like these mini documentaries.
You speak about history of Tesla or history of this and that. It's more
about anything. Yeah.
But more of a documentary than a discussion, right? More of a
kind of, but like really taking a topic and really deep diving it. Because I think what's happening now, the one thing I've been sort of like seeing is that I think the transition to transportation and autonomy and AI, I think a lot of the public is still not grasping that fully. And I think there's an opportunity to really help the masses understand exactly what's going on, so they're prepared for it.
Educational?
Correct.
Okay.
But using real life examples. I don't know, it's experimentation. It's just experimentation.
Okay. And then one question I have, because I mean, I obviously watch your videos, but I'm YouTube Plus, so I don't see any ads. But then I have Athletic Greens, which I'm not as beautiful because of Athletic Greens. Let's make that clear. So how did that happen? Did they contact you, and now you're sponsoring their content, or how did that come out? Did you search for a sponsor? How did it all come around?
Yeah, so Athletic Greens is something I've been taking since like 2020. I was brought onto it from Joe Rogan. So it was something that when I was listening to, it's like Joe Rogan is like Athletic Greens alpha brain. He's like into freaking bath, cold plunges and sauna. He's like a health freak. And so he turned me on Athletic Greens a while ago. And then when I started my channel in November, December, I had a person reach out to me from Athletic Greens that says, dude, I freaking love your channel. You're doing such a great job. I work for Athletic Greens. If you ever want a partnership, let me know. I'm going to send you a case of Athletic Greens just because, awesome. And that's how, Athletic Greens get you in. But then I'm like, okay, so Athletic Greens is something that I have been taking. And there's somebody that it's a product that I respect. And so if they want to support me, I'm happy to support them. But like, I think if people sort of follow my channel, is that that's the only thing I sponsor. I don't sponsor anything else. And it's not Tesla related or anything. It's health related because I freaking take it every day, and so I have no problems, promoting that. I really don't. And they're all done at the end of the video. Yeah.
And you're not looking at any more partnerships or anything. This is just this one came around and that's it. It's not a main source of revenue or whatever.
No. Okay, I think the key thing for me is like I'm not doing this for the money. I truly am not doing this for the money. But if I'm going to put in effort and I've made a commitment to make this as big and as valuable as I can to as many people as humanly possible, and I need to hire like staff as I go to ensure that becomes the case, to really get it to that point, I'm going to have to set up an incentive structure of some sort that says, okay, so all this value that I'm putting in, I need to ensure that there's something coming out so I can reinvest it back into that growth, right? Whatever that is. And so I'm just looking at it purely from a business building standpoint. So, that's how I view it.
Do you think AI will in any way, help you in saving money, or would you need at one point 2 Davids or 3 Davids? Do you think there is going to be improvement in making this whole video producing, editing, clipping, and all that, making it easier than what it is? Because at the moment, I spoke to Herbert the other day about it as well. And he says there's so much time in it. It's incredible.
Yeah, that's what people might not sort of like fully understand, is that YouTube is a hell of a time sink, man. You have to be an audio expert, a video expert, a lighting expert, an editor, a videographer. You have to be somebody who's comfortable in front of the camera. You have to be a script writer. And then you have to be a business person if you are trying to monetize the channel. You have to be somebody who has really thick skin. So when you read comments that are incredibly rude, you have to figure out how that doesn't destroy your confidence. You have to go out and you're like 17 jobs in one. And I think that oftentimes gets not well understood. But I do think AI does help. And it already has. Like some of the videos that I've been putting together, I use ChatGPT, GPT-4 to do some research. I use Bing Chat to do research. There is a editing company, I forget the name of it, but it automatically edits videos for you. I don't really like the way it does my content because I'm going for a specific type of look, which I just part of the art of doing the YouTube, and I consider myself an artist in a sense. I play guitar and stuff, so I'm getting to exercise that muscle. And but I do think over time AI will get better and better, especially with like thumbnail creation and title creation too. I think the one cool thing about GPT is that it's enabled me to experiment. It's like I'm making a video about so-and-so topics. Here's a synopsis of it. Craft me 10 titles for YouTube. And then it gives you 10 different variations. And then, that's one thing I can use to experiment and see what's going to be there. So I think over time, what's going to happen is I think 80% of all content creators are going to get disrupted by automated AI systems. And I think 20% of content creators will have enough differentiation to rise above the crop. But I think most YouTubers, and I'm constantly thinking about this, right? Like, again, because I've made a commitment to this thing, is like, how can I ensure that I'm differentiated from AI? Because AI in about a year is probably going to be just as good than most YouTube channels. So how can I make sure that I'm not part of one of those?
Sometimes by pure coincidence, I watch some of those I call them canned videos, just because the voice is not a natural voice. The whole content is just a documentary of other people's content, and they're obviously able to make money of it. But I do believe that will disappear. It's just so bad compared to real people interacting, real people speaking, real people putting their face out there. And that's actually a point I wanted to make. So many people don't understand that, the 100 or 150 people on Tesla that communicate, show their face, go on the different shows, discuss stuff. It really needs some bravery, right? You're putting your skin out there, you're putting your look out there, you're putting your voice out there, you're putting your name out there. And I mean, some of us are not, some of us are hiding behind, whatever thing they can hide of, but most of us are really putting this out there. And you're right, it takes a lot of knowledge, it takes a lot of learning, because I'm sure 3 years ago you had no clue how to do all this, and now you're doing it on a daily basis. And people don't realize that. They just see their 5 or 10 or 15 minutes they want to watch, and just think this came from heaven, and there you are, and you just do it. And it's not. It's quite a job to get there.
It's a very vulnerable, but that's okay too. Like, I've accepted that. I think that the more I've done it, I mean, my God, how many hours I've been in front of the camera for the last year? Like thousands, Yeah. So at some point,
how many do you do per week now? Because you do so many, right?
So I do 5 videos a week, and then if one of those or 2 of those are long form, then those get clipped as well, so that the folks that don't have time to invest the extended period of time have access to the clips.
It's a lot, right?
It's a lot of content. I mean, I know that it's a lot of content, but it's done by design, because I'm trying to make as many people as happy as possible. That's really my core mission here. And I can understand how some people view it as, well, you're just trying to flood YouTube with you're just trying to make as much money as possible. I'm like, you can think that. That's okay. Like, it's not up to me to decide, right? But that's not why I'm doing it. It's because I got feedback that said, I literally don't have the time. And I got that all the time. And one of the things I love to do is talk to people. And so I shifted to that model as much as possible. And then I'm getting the opposite. It's like, yo, you're doing too many videos and you're being so clickbaity with a lot of it. What are you doing? And I'm like, okay. Yeah, so then my decision was, okay, you can't please everybody. It is what it is. Do what you know best. Try your absolute hardest to listen to feedback. And then whatever makes you happiest, do. Because if you don't do what makes you happy, you're going to get burnt out. You're going to end up hating this thing. And then I feel like I've put in a lot of effort into this, and I don't want to give it up. And so I'm going to, I have so much freaking fun. I am the luckiest person alive. I got to work at Tesla, leave it because I'm financially independent, and I got to start this thing because I'm passionate about it. And literally every single morning I get to do what I want to do. Why would I not maximize that for myself?
Sure.
That's insane.
And not only for yourself, because you're also on the mission to teach others, to educate others, to see the light. And I admire you for doing that.
To the best of my abilities. I'm not perfect.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. I appreciate the question. I hope it was a good answer.
No, it was. And I absolutely respect all about it. There's absolutely nothing you should, hide or feel bad about it, because it comes from your heart. That's what you want to do. So one other question I had, and I think with both of us a good place to do that, was about moving, because you moved from Spain to the United States. Then you moved from the East Coast to Austin. I moved around a lot in my life, and I'm now living in California. And I realized this week, and wrote this down as on my notes to talk to Farzad about, was like, when did you start feeling at home in Austin? How did that work?
Honestly, this is going to be a weird answer. I felt at home right away.
Oh.
Right away. Yeah. And I think the reason why is I think I was just really ready for a change of scenery from the Northeast. Alexandra, I hate snow. I hate snow. And
I hear that.
Like, I hate it, and I lived in it for 17 years. And some people are like, well, I lived in it for a lifetime. I'm like, great. It's just not, I don't like it. I'm 100% Persian. I was born in Spain. I wasn't really around snow, both from my DNA and where I was born. And so, it was really cool for a while, but then the whole having to drive around in snow, the thing that pissed me off the most, I remember this, like, literally was yesterday. We got like 5 inches of snow, and I had my Model S at the time, and we lived at the top of this hill. And I went up the hill and I parked the car in the driveway, and I left, and I stepped out of my car, I closed the door, and I started walking around the front of the car, and the car started sliding down the hill on its own.
Oh!
I swear to God. and I literally had to grab it. Like the handlebars were so loud, and I had to grab it from the handlebar, from the back seat, like the handle, to try and like, I don't know what the hell I was doing. And then the door opens and I'm trying to steer the freaking car down the hill. And there's a guy on the side of the street installing some cable wiring for like the cable TV for a neighbor. And then he starts running up, and then he starts trying to push it, up the hill in some way. And then it formed a snowbank, and eventually it stopped. And literally, I got in the car, I drove it down the hill, parked it at the bottom of the hill, walked for like 10 minutes up the hill. I got in the house and I'm like, babe, she's like, what? I'm like, we're fucking leaving. Like, I'm done. I am done with Pennsylvania.
And that was what?
Done.
3 years ago? 4 years ago?
That was like 2019. Yeah, 2018, somewhere around there. And so we started traveling around. We started going to Atlanta, and, we visited Atlanta, Seattle, Boston. We went to Orlando. We went to a bunch of different places. And Austin just kind of fell in our lap, But this one was quick. It was really, really quick. We fell in love with it because I think the weather's amazing most of the year. Even when it's super hot in the summer, I don't mind it. It's like I like the heat. And the people are super warm and nice. And the food's pretty good. So I'm like, okay, like I freaking love it here. I love it. Absolutely. Yeah. What about you?
So we moved in 2014, and I'm still not at home in California. There are so many things with California I don't like, because the thing is, we left France for quite some reasons, and then I come to California and I feel it's the same. But to tell the story, and you'll actually laugh, when we decided we leave France to the United States, we had, all the choices in the world. We could have lived in Boston, we could have lived in Florida, wherever, in Austin. And like you, Michelle hates snow. I mean, the one rule was you can put me anywhere, but no snow. So that obviously, cuts America in half. And then we wanted fresh vegetables. I mean, we're French, right? So there was food involved. And so we ended up in Santa Barbara. And Santa Barbara is really not my place. I mean, it looks a lot of where we came from France, but it's not my place. And so the last couple of months, I was always telling myself, okay, so where are we moving next? What's next? Because I was always, anticipating I have to leave from here. This is not my place. Until I had this moment about 10 days ago where I told myself, you now stop. You just stop. You moved here. This is today. You now feel good here. Stop complaining. Whenever you move. But don't always, try to project yourself into the future or be nostalgic about the past. You have to anchor yourself here, because if not, you'll never be happy about it.
Yeah.
And that was really some coming to Jesus moment. And so every day I'm trying to practice it a little bit. I'm going like, okay, remember, you're living here now. It's good. It's all fine. You don't look at all with the critical lens, because there's 50,000 things that I don't like about it. But look at the things that you like: good weather and whatever, and the plants and the sea. And there's so much nice about Santa Barbara to see as well. And I just wanted to stop myself complaining all the time. And I thought that's one of the subjects I really want to bring out in this chat, because it's obviously stuff we never talk about on other things. Everybody just feel good where you are. You don't always have to strive to make it better tomorrow, or to be sad about what you left behind yesterday. There's just so much good in today.
Well, I also think it's like, but I think there's also a level of honesty you have to have with yourself to ensure that you're not telling that to yourself to force yourself to feel a certain way. I think there's a legitimate reason behind, if you don't find something to be like home, like why? So like why don't you feel at home? Why don't you feel at home?
Well, the thing with Santa Barbara is we moved here. The principal reason was the kids, right? With 5 kids having to go to certain schools, and the schools in Santa Barbara are just perfect. So there was 3 of them, and 2 were studying, but Santa Barbara was the ideal hub for that. And starting this year in June, in 2 months, there is no kid going to school in Santa Barbara anymore. So this is sort of the moment where you feel, okay, you've done this now for 8 years. It was too expensive a place to live. It just is. It's ridiculous. And but I mean, we did it. It had all its good. It had all this good other circumstances, like I said, weather, food, whatever. Yeah. Being able to walk on the ocean. But there was a reason, right? It's like you're with an employer. You live somewhere because that's your employer, right? I lived here for my children to be able to go to these schools, and now comes the moment where suddenly it becomes a choice. And the funny thing is, now that it becomes a choice, I actually appreciate it. But during the 8 years, I felt it was like a chore, right? Completely crazy, stupid, and putting weight on my shoulders that I shouldn't have, right? I could have enjoyed it from the beginning rather than telling me, okay, it's expensive. I'm living here for my
you
kids.
enjoy it now, though. You enjoy it now.
I do.
Okay, now you're at home. Wow. Okay, I see. I see.
Do you think that's crazy?
That's very interesting. That's really, really interesting. I mean, could it be the motherly instinct? Like you're just, you have your kids going there, so you're just trying to make sure that it's got to be that, right?
For sure. Yeah. That's exactly it. I always, and I think lots of parents will understand that, I always look out for my kids and my husband first, right? And if they're happy, I'm happy, even though it may not be perfect, right? So I have these two things in my head going, okay, you do it for everybody else, just shut up all the rest, right? But you do feel that it's a heavy weight, which is completely crazy. You shouldn't do that. You should just, are you happy? The other ones will be happy as well. But that's how life works.
Hard to do.
And then suddenly it pops up. And so when it popped for me, like I said, it's just a couple of days ago, I thought, my gosh, I should tell people, enjoy it for yourself, enjoy the day and the place, and just don't only do it for the others. Or if it's not the right place, well, then make your choices.
Take action.
Don't always do it just for the others. Yeah.
I would say the other side of that is really way more pervasive. I think there's a lot of people that exist. I can talk about the United States because I've talked to a lot of people, growing up. I just like talking to people. And the one thing I always find, there's always a trend. There's so many people out there that want a change, but they're either too scared to do it out of fear of maybe moving away too far from family, or leaving behind friends, or leaving behind opportunities, or maybe risk of failing in the move or something. But there's constant limiting beliefs behind wanting a change of scenery because it's so scary. And I think I would encourage people to be very lean into the discomfort of that decision. Because if there's one thing, it's a win-win situation in my eyes. And the reason why I think that is, it's because say you move and it ends up being a terrible decision, now you know what the right decision is. So you've solved the question.
Good point.
By creating an action. And if you do end up loving it, you also answer the question, right?
Yeah.
So the question becomes, do you have enough money to get your plane ticket back? That's it. You just have to save up enough money for a plane ticket back.
Exactly.
That's like, what, $500? It's not that big of an investment, I hope, and that's a bigger question, is like for the folks that maybe don't have that financial resources, the question becomes, how can we get you to a point where you're able to have that financial security to be able to buy that $500 plane ticket so you can take the risk and find out if this is the right decision or not? And I think I really wish that was more part of our DNA as a species, because I really do think, it's scary, but I encourage everybody to do it. It took me forever to do, bro. But for me, it was very rewarding. And I'm not saying this is going to be a universal thing for everybody, but I do think there's a lot of people out there that are afraid to take the jump to make that change sometimes.
Do you see yourself in Austin for a long, long time?
I do.
Or you do? Okay.
I do, but I also see myself everywhere. I see myself in Colorado. I see myself in somewhere in Europe, in a couple places. My wife and I talk about this all the time. Like, we fantasize about, okay, like how do we continue building the life that we want? And, Cindy loves she loves mountains. And if there's one thing she hates about this region, is that there's no mountains. There's nothing, she's like, everything's flat. I'm like, I know, you know this.
Move to Santa Barbara. You have it all.
But I think as we kind of grow our life, I think Austin will forever be home base. I just really love the vibe here, and I love the people. I just haven't been here that long, but I just really love being here. But I also love other places. And so, how can I be at these different places? And that's also part of thinking about the future long-term goals, is like, okay, these are the things that we're going after. These are the things that we want to continue building on and investing in. And, but we're not rushing it. We're like, as it comes, it comes. And that's part of the journey. And it's so hard to do that for me because I'm such a destination person. I'm so freaking impatient. I'm constantly thinking, I'm always somewhere else thinking about the end goal, and I'm never here enjoying the journey. And that is one thing that I'm constantly having to remind myself of, and something that Cindy constantly tries to drill into my brain. She's like, can you please live in the present more? I'm like, what is that?
So let me ask you, so you are in Austin, obviously Tesla's in Austin now. Lots of the online people we talk to every day, you and me, are in Austin. Do you meet them outside of online? Do you meet them in real life? And how are they when you meet them in real life?
Yeah, I mean, I've met the events that we've done. There's been a few events we've done in Austin that are Tesla related. I think there's been like 2 or 3 that I've been to so far. They're friggin' awesome. They're awesome. They're really nice people. Great to talk to. The coolest experience is like going to these like events, these like bigger events, and then you run into people that are like, dude, I watch your stuff. You're so awesome. Or like they're just all so nice. And I'm like, dude, you're like so sweet, and then when I take a picture, I'm like, this is so weird, but okay, let's take a picture. Like I'm just a dude. It's really strange, but I love it. It's very flattering. Yeah, they're just, everybody's just great people. I think the Tesla community is a magnet for people that are thinking about the future, and they're people that care about humanity, generally speaking. And the kind of overlap that I see is just very kind people that love positive change. And I feel like that's a great sort of group to be surrounded by. Everybody's so sweet. Everybody's so nice. And it's so interesting when you have the internet layer on top of that, and what the meanness that can come out of the internet layer. But then underneath of it all, I bet you there's just most of them are a bunch of sweethearts, that they're just maybe they're having a bad day, or you said something that was really, really personal, and, something happened. But by and large, I mean, literally everybody I've met in person has been super sweet. What about you? Have you met a lot of people there?
Well, I did when I came for Investor Day in Austin. It was great. It was absolutely great because, cool people that I never spoke actually online with. I met Dave Lee. I met Rob Maher. So those are not people I'm, daily or even monthly sending a DM or whatever. And they were there and hug and, oh, you're so great. Oh, you're so great as well. It was really something because, all we do is just being absolute fanatic about Tesla and meeting people that are so nice, so knowledgeable, so open about it all. It was absolutely great. I loved it. Awesome. Do you think for the shareholder meeting on May 16th, there will be events again, or this one will be much less than the Investor Day and the Cyber Rodeo last year?
Is it in Austin again, or is it in California?
Yes, it's in Austin, the shareholder.
I think there will probably be an event. You mean like locally for us to hang out at?
Yeah, because I do believe this time, I think they let in much more than 250 people. They let in for Investor Day. So there will be,
Rainy Street's going to be a madhouse. The question is going to become, are we going to want to do the same thing again? Noah was stressed out.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I saw him, but they did a good job. But it was a heck of a job for them.
I'm sure we'll do at the very least, there'll be places where people can go hang out. Like I think Tesla Owners Club of Austin will probably put something together. Like if people just want to go hang out. I don't know if we'll do another full production show thing. It all depends if, because that thing that happened, one thing that I think people need to be aware of, and no one will never say this, but I'll say it on his behalf. That setup that he set up for Tesla Bull Stampede was at least a $20,000 job, and he did it out of his own pocket.
Crazy, right? Insane. I saw the number of people he had there, the machinery, the screens, everything. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, absolutely nuts. And he will never say this, but I'll say this for him. I thank you so much for doing that, Noah, because you have and I'm so happy to see his content propagating. Sandy made the whole event into him tripping over the screen and stuff, and everybody else
carrying his beer away. Remember that?
It was amazing. It was like a whole meme show, But it was all because. Dude, it's because Noah and his team made that sacrifice, but he wanted to do it because he's like, I just love the community. I'm like, that's fucking awesome, And so literally it's just okay, how can we make you whole? And that's been my thing. It's literally just, how can we make you whole? How can we make you whole? So, yeah.
So, anyway, and the other thing I want to thank Noah for is, so he had a mobile cameraman who was at my feet. So he was filming me from an angle I never see myself. And the thing is, it was horrendous. Don't you laugh. It was absolutely horrendous. And so from the next day on, I was back on my diet, and now I lost 25 pounds. God. So thank you, Noah. You did it. you give me the ass.
I thought you looked beautiful. I thought you looked absolutely beautiful.
Well,
My
I found
goodness.
myself absolutely fat. And I mean, that angle, I was like, oh my God, where's this woman? This is everywhere.
Well, I mean, if there's the least flattering angle you ever want is like at your feet, you know, it's like no one's going to look
horrible.
Great. No one's going to look great.
But I didn't look great. I looked enormous.
Yeah. Oh my God. Come on now. But
it's not, honestly, it was the best thing that can happen. And I actually have a screenshot from that I put on my computer. So anytime
Motivation.
I would like to think that I'm hungry, I'm like, look at that. You're not hungry.
Oh my God. How's that journey going for you? We talked about it briefly before we went live.
I mean, I absolutely loved it. So that was, what was that? 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago? I don't even remember. It's been a while, right? And beginning of March. So, so I came home. I said, this is it. No point crying or whatever. You just put yourself together. And I'd done keto before COVID. And then I had long COVID, which brought along with it a lot of lymphatic problems. And so I just let myself go because I was, eating too much and having all these treatments that were not good, whatever. Not complaining about that, but there's reasons why I became as big as I was. And so I said, this is it. You're healed now. The long COVID is gone. I don't have lymphatic problems anymore. There's no excuse. You just start, you go back to keto, you like that. So I started going back to keto, and I was then eating still 2 meals a day. I had a breakfast and I had something between lunch and dinner, sort of 3 o'clock meal. And then I didn't eat anymore. And then I thought, you know what? I don't think I need breakfast. And I was researching 1 meal a day. And you actually had Tom Nash on. And, I love Tom Nash. I'm his grandmother. So there I am. And I thought, okay, if Tom can do that, because, he was such a binge eater, right? Pizzas in the middle of the night, whatever. That was never my problem. My problem is much more not moving enough and just eating more than I need. And so I said, if he can do 1 meal a day, let me check that out. So I did quite some research on 1 meal a day. And you have to say, YouTube is such a great resource now. There are doctors up there that explain to you how it works. There's a specific doctor that is for women over 50, because obviously hormonal changes and whatever. And she explains how to do 1 meal a day in my age tranche and whatever. And so I looked into that and I said, I can do that. So I've been now for 5 weeks on 1 meal a day and lost 25 pounds.
Wow,
and
that's awesome.
It's going absolutely crazy. So I haven't eaten since yesterday, 3 o'clock. So in 15 minutes, it's going to be 24 hours again. Yeah. And Michelle, my good French husband, knows already what I want to eat when we are done, because that's the 24 hours window. But I'm not starving. I'm not. And the energy, I cannot tell you.
It's wild, right?
Is like, I don't know what to do with my energy. You see, that's why I think all this, be conscious, live here, this is now your home, just, enjoy it. I think this is all coming together rather than, being stuck in your old self where you're, not getting anywhere, but just always turning around the same problems. I think once you are in a good state of insulin, because you have now managed that, your insulin levels go down and you're in better health, you just get so much more out of it, not only food-wise and fat-wise. And I think I told you that earlier. So if ever in the evening I would be hungry, I would point to where I still feel I'm very fat. And I would tell my body, you're not hungry. That's the fat you want to eat now.
Oh my God.
I'm actually playing with myself, and I love it. I'm very proud of what happened so far, and I think I'll be much further in a couple of weeks.
That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. I think the health is so underrated.
Oh, yeah.
It's so insanely underrated. It's kind of it's a shame. Like, speaking at least, like, I was obese for quite a long part of my life. I was like, for my body type, so I'm 5'11", basically no muscle, in front of a computer my whole life. Really starting ever since I was quite athletic before we moved to the States. I played a lot of sports in Spain. And then when we came to the States, everybody was just 1,000 times more athletic than I was. And I'm like, okay, this is like, I'm so like demotivated, didn't know how to speak the language. So I just got in front of a computer and played video games for like years. And I just got super fat, and coming out of that, and I still have ways to go. Like I'm not there yet. I've still maybe like 15 pounds away, but I wasn't to 250, 260, whatever I was when I was at my peak. I felt awful. I felt low energy all the time. Everything, like, I'm sorry to get personal. The bowel movements were awful. It's like the whole thing was terrible. Like it was just really crappy being unhealthy. And I think the transition that I made changed my mental more than anything. Like the physical part of it was great. It's like, okay, I can, I feel better. I can move around better. I have a lot more energy. But the mental part of it, the confidence I gained from knowing that I was happy somewhat with what I look like, the energy you get from that, just being in better health, and just how many more things you can work on that you enjoy. You're in better mood. You sleep better. I feel like the diet, like you're not as sensitive to certain foods anymore. You can kind of experiment with eating a little bit more. Everything fits a lot better. So, you're not like super self-conscious about going shopping when you get gifts for like clothes and stuff. Like all these different things like go away. And the improvement from a mental perspective is so underrated, because everything we do nowadays in our society, a lot of it is physical, but so much of it is mental. So much of it is mental. And I think that's one underrated aspect of being as healthy as humanly possible. So, and I'm still on my journey.
Now? So what are you're what, eating certain food or intermittent fasting? What do you do now?
So I intermittent fast. Yeah. So I do my eating window. I try to do 12 to 6. So 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. I don't always succeed, but it's at least a 16-hour fast. So I will go from at least 10 to 6 or 12 to 8. Some days I'll shift it because, say I want to go out to dinner or something, and we have something for 7. So I don't start eating until 12. So I'll do an additional 2-hour fast that day. But outside of that, I don't really, I just try to limit how much I eat. I try to be conscious of how much food I eat. I track calories from time to time. So generally I'm pretty good at I can calculate somewhat how many calories I'm eating in a day. But what ends up happening is if I don't track like once every few weeks, I start going down the rabbit hole of like, but I'm hungry, more food, So, and then I have to, like yesterday, I had to recalibrate myself. I'm like, holy shit, I'm eating 3,000 calories today. Like I need to like recalibrate.
So you do what? My fitness app or something like that?
Yeah, my fitness pal.
Yeah.
I have that. Very easy. I work out. So I've been working out 4 times a week. Cindy and I started working out again about 13 weeks ago, like literally at the start of the year. And we've been doing 4 times a week, and I try to do one activity as well. So tennis, for example, this week I play tennis with my buddy Matthew. So that's 5 days of exercise. And I go to the gym an hour a day, and then tennis is like an hour and a half.
And at the gym you do what? Just weights or cardio? Okay.
Yeah, I do 12 minutes of cardio just to get the heart rate up and get the sort of a little tiny bit of a sweat going. But then because I want to save my energy for the weightlifting. And then I the other 45 minutes is just weightlifting, and I sort of divide up my workout each day. And
you got a coach, or you got a coach, or somebody showed you what to do? You just
my wife.
There she goes.
Yeah, Cindy's into fitness quite a bit. She used to go. She was a gym rat when I met her, so she would go to the gym basically every day. Which and again, to this day, I don't know how the hell I pulled that off, because I'm this like bag of fat walking around, and she's like this super hot girl who's super smart. And I'm like, why are you talking to me? She's like, you're kind of funny looking. No, just kidding. But she's like, probably, But she's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, okay, cool. But, just so weird.
How did you meet? Let's get to that. Did you meet her at the gym?
You really want to know? Ready?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, guess.
What, at the gym?
No. You have 2 more guesses.
I have 2 more. A Tesla?
No.
Okay. I don't know. Broken car?
Nope.
Okay,
ready?
That's fun. No, go ahead.
Tinder.
Oh my God, no.
And you want to know how we met? We were each other's first date on Tinder.
Oh my. And that was it. You closed the account.
Yeah, that was over. Oh yeah, I had to. I'm not going to keep it. Yeah, crazy.
And she lived close to you, and it matched, and that was it?
Yeah, she lived in this town, Allentown, which is right next to Bethlehem, where I lived. We call them Bethlehem. It's Bethlehem, but we call it Bethlehem. Sure. And we were just 20, 25 minutes away from each other. I was working at Philips, the company before Tesla at the time, so 2014. She was just wrapping up college. She's 3 years younger than I am, 3.5 years younger, around that time. So yeah, we just matched. She was out of a relationship for like a year, and I was out of a relationship for a while. And guys are on Tinder for different reasons sometimes. And I just, I'm like, okay, whatever, just blah. And then, but I couldn't really get anybody to go on a date with me because I was very awkward. Like, I think I'm very awkward, and especially with girls at the time. My wife gave me a lot more confidence as of late, so it's good. But I use it only on her, luckily. But it's but yeah, it's just I said something about Lord of the Rings. She had something in her profile about Lord of the Rings. She's like, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and I'm like, oh, so you like Lord of the Rings, huh? She's like, yeah, I love Lord of the Rings. And then she told me on our first day, like, yeah, the reason why I went out with you is because you're literally the only guy who referenced what I like. Every other guy was like, hey, cutie, how you doing? Hey, hottie, what's up? And I'm like the nerdy ass kid that's like, hey, you like Lord of the Rings, huh? So it's like worked out. It was perfect.
Good for you.
Yeah.
What a good match. You want to know how I met my husband?
Oh my God, please. I would love to.
Okay. So because I think I told you before, Friday is going to be our 25 years. So this was a Tuesday in April 1998. I already had 3 children. I was back at work at Moody's at my office. And the secretary of the president of New York called and said, we have this consultant for Moody's. He wants to meet you in Paris. And I said, sure. When are you available? I said, Tuesday at 11 o'clock. Fine. So Tuesday at 11 o'clock, the receptionist called me and said, there's somebody for you at the reception. I go to the reception. There is this man, the ugliest Hermes tie you've seen in your life. I remember nothing else, but I remember this tie, which was a sort of a mustardy yellow with the I don't know what animals on it. I mean, whatever. That was it. I thought, oh my God.
I thought French people were supposed to be good with fashion. What happened?
Well, not that. Not that. So there he was. And I stared at that tie and I thought, oh my God. So he came into my office, sat down. I sat back on my desk and he looked at me. And he looked at me and he looked at me and I thought, well, this is not going to go easy. What am I supposed to do with this guy? So I said, so they sent you from New York. What is this all about? And he said, you want to marry me? And
what?
I said, what? I promise this is true. And he had what the French call a coup de foudre. He couldn't say anything else. Nothing.
No way.
I promise you. And I mean, you will meet Michel. He's the nicest guy, never short of talking or whatever. And I said, you know what? I'm married. I got 3 children. We just calm down now and we work. Where did you come from? What are we working on? And he said, well, we can work, but do you want to marry me? And
what?
Said, yeah, I know. And he was absolutely serious. And I said, look, we really need to work. And he said, okay, we'll work if you come with me for lunch. I said, no, I have a lunch date. I can't come with you. He said, tomorrow. I said, okay, tomorrow, but let's work now. So Wednesday he came back and we went for lunch and then I played hard to get for 3-4 months and then the rest is history. And now we have the life we have. But isn't that crazy?
Wow, that's wild.
And I said to him, did that ever happen to you before? He said, no. And I mean, I always said, why in the world did you ask? And he said, there was nothing else to ask.
Damn. He stole you away, Alexandra. He stole you away. Wow. Wow. So he must be the most charming person of all time.
He is. Yeah. He's absolutely great. And that's why, sometimes people say, oh, bring him on YouTube and whatever. He's mine, he really is. And I mean, he's 20 years older. So we're a strange couple. When we're in the street, people look at us, right? Because he's now an elderly gentleman. I mean, he's absolutely great in good health and whatever, but you see a 20-year difference, of course. And I just feel I want to protect him. I don't want people being nasty to my husband. I mean, he's very, very special to me. He's the most intelligent person I've ever met. And he's the one that gets Elon, whenever I'm in my face, oh my God, what's he doing again? He goes, don't you understand? And I said, okay, sure, let's understand. But he's really very special to me. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
25
that's
years,
a crazy story.
It is.
Wow. Yeah, no, ours was very, it was just like just weird chance. It was just the most like random thing in the universe, and I don't know, just so grateful.
So when did you ask her to marry you? How long did it take you?
Oh man. I asked, it was on April, like it was like a year and a half later. Yeah, like a year and a half later. But I wanted to ask way earlier. Yeah, April 18th or April 16th. Because I didn't want to freak her out. Yeah, I didn't want to freak her out. I like, well, we were telling each other that we love each other and all that stuff. But I'm like, I was like 4 months in. I'm like, dude, that's the one. Like I've dated not a lot of girls, but I knew what I wanted, I knew what I was looking for. And I was like, damn, like, I really don't want to be that guy. Like, what if there's a red flag? Because the whole thing was everything was going so well. Perfect. Literally perfect. And we're 6 months in, and I'm like, okay, that if I'm going to wait a little bit longer, like maybe another 6 months, maybe 1 more year, because if there's a red flag, there's going to be one. And there has never been a red flag.
I mean,
ever.
You're so cute together.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing to see.
It's all her.
She's for a lot.
It's all her. Yes. She's like 99.9% of it. Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But she's wonderful.
She's great. She's great. She's the best. And she's so supportive. And, you know, and that's another thing that I'm very lucky with this YouTube thing is like she pushed me to do it. You know, that's like she pushed me to do it. And because I think, you know, I think she saw something that's like, hey, like you should be doing this. Like this would be something that's like good. And I'm like, well, but you know, what's the point? Like I'm getting in front of a camera and you know, it's like, feels very vulnerable. She's like, yeah, whatever. Just, you know, it's like, and then I think once I heard her say, I'm like, you know what, you're probably right. Cause I did a lot of this. I did at my workplaces where I worked. It's like, it's kind of the same vibe ish, you know, it's like, I'm getting in front of a team of people and I'm communicating what I think we should be doing, but it's like reframed, you know? So I like to think I'm not any different than if I was at a workplace communicating ideas or thoughts or anything. Yeah. It's just I happen to do it in front of the camera. So I think that's where the skill set translated really well. But now I get to do it in front of a bunch of people, and that's like the thing that just I can never wrap my head around. Is like
I think she's a photographer, right? And I met her, and I think she just saw how good you are on the screen. I mean, there are people that are better on the screen than others. You know, they're just able to bring their soul out, and the people on the other side see it. And you're certainly one of them.
That's very sweet. Thank you. That's so sweet. Likewise. I mean, my goodness.
I said that to say that Cindy was clever. I didn't say that.
No, I agree. I mean, I'll take the credit anyway. I'll take the credit anyway. Oh my goodness. Well, we're in, and I know you got to go eat. So yeah.
You know everything about me now.
You're done fasting. Your 24-hour fast is done. Anything else you want to bring up before we wrap it up?
It's been lovely. I think we should do this every 2 weeks. It really, I think it's just good to bring it all up, right?
Yeah, it's delightful. Yeah, I love speaking with you. Thank you so much.
Me too. Yeah. Speak too. Have a good weekend.
We're going to go make some noise next week. 2 weeks. Bye, everybody. We'll see you for earnings.
True.
Here we go.
See you soon. Bye,
everybody.